Brad, it's been hard not to notice Owen Tippett the last few games. I know he hasn't maybe squeezed one home yet, but do you feel like he's more effective and having more of an impact than maybe before?
When he gets the puck in open ice, there's few players like him in the league. I'd like him for that to show up a little bit more. I think the play he makes on Pelche's goal is, a play that you couldn't describe to somebody unless you really knew how hard that is to do at this level. That's ridiculous. He's in my 3 years here. He's probably made a dozen or so of those plays, whether the goal against Dallas on his backhand or, where he takes, 3 or 4 seconds and just turns the game magical almost. So he has that ability. I think that, the consistency, and it's hard for a guy who has that skill package. You can't always show that. But I think that he's becoming a more consistent performer. I think being consistent means maybe you don't look for those spectacular plays maybe quite as often when they're there and you're feeling it. Absolutely. I don't think it needs to show up all the time because he's good enough in other elements of the game to play, a simpler game at times or maybe a more north-south game. I think how he combines the two eventually when he starts playing his absolute best hockey, I think you'll see a little bit more of that simplicity come through along with the exceptional skill and talent that he has.
It was your first time seeing Carson Dorwart up close, and what did you see from him today?
Well, he moves well. I asked him first time I met him, what's your best asset? And he said, his head, his brain. He really thinks the game while he feels, and that's a great answer for me. I like guys that are aware on the ice, but I was impressed with how he got around today. And it's not easy sometimes. Your first day, a lot of nerves out there. So it seems like a really, centered and focused and humble young man. And so, it's. We'll see how it goes. It's always different practice to a game, and there'll be probably some nerves again there for him. But no, he seems like a really good young man, real high character type of guy.
Do you guys have a plan for his deployment the rest of the way? Like, is he going to play all games, some games? Is he going to get all situations, penalty kill?
He's played all those situations at the college level, so. I would think at a certain point he probably plays a little of everything. I'm not sure. He's definitely going to play in Montreal, and beyond that, I'm not sure. What the plan is as far as deployment. I'll kind of sort of get the marching orders, I guess, from above, but We'll talk and sort it out and try and make sense of it and put him in the best situation possible to show us what he can do.
You had him with Hathaway and Delorier today. Are those like two perfect guys that kind of just make him feel comfortable when he's out there?
Well, he looks like a worker to me, and that can be a real effective line. You saw Hathaway's impact last game, a couple solid contacts that kind of you get the other team's attention instantly. So, going on the road, it's, they're two very veteran guys, probably can help, calm the nerves a little bit and help keep them on focus and on point. So, yeah, that's how we'll start it anyway.
Along those lines, he said that he was gratified by the reception he got today. And then Bob Brink said that he had that same experience, that it's important that players kind of tell you where the best pizza is, the best bank, whatever it might be. Is that something that's key to getting their foot in the door?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the best things Torts did here was that room. There's been people that left in the last month or so, that sort of create voids, I guess, a little bit, but it's still a great room. It's still full of very professional athletes that know how to treat their teammates, and that's a real luxury to kind of come in when I did, when that room is sort of taken care of to the extent that it was. And so I'm not surprised that, he's greeted with open arms, and, I would expect that to go forward and expect that to happen with any new guy that comes in here.
You mentioned, I think it was after the first game you coached, might have been after the second, but you mentioned that, one of the roles you see yourself taking up the rest of the season is just to kind of, get the guys at the end of the year to make it fun, to get some positives out of it. Does that play into the practices you schedule, in terms of games and things that kind of, keep them excited?
Yeah, it's some of that stuff you pick up along the way. I worked with Ken Hitchcock, and he was big on starting with a great drill and ending with something competitive. And I've found that when I run practices or I have a chance to run drills, the more competitive things are, all you have to do is keep score, and things get competitive. With these clowns out here, that's all you have to do. Just tell them you're keeping score. You don't even have them keep score. Just tell them you're keeping score, and all of a sudden it almost gets dangerous how much effort goes in and how much focus goes in. So, they're so ultra competitive that, I think you can get a lot done with real simple drills that way. And so, it's one thing that, worked with a lot of head coaches and picked up a lot of things that, I'd like to do that if I ever got the job again. So, it's we've done it here a lot with Torts as well. I think there's a huge value there. It's work is work, and getting reminded how work has success has a value, and we'll probably keep practicing the same way.
Are you a believer in small area games then?
I think there's yes. I love the little bill game we play. It's actually can be really taxing on the players, and there's a fairly not high risk of injury, but I've seen some guys get clipped in it. But I think it's one of the best games, one of the best drills you can do to instill, just remind guys what it's necessary on a work ethic point of view. So yeah, I love anything that brings out their competitive nature, because I think it gets them to a point closer to a game sort of situation than anything else you can do on a practice day.
What's it been like watching Ivan this year and seeing, with everything he's gone through in the past, to have this year where he's kind of really grown and developed his game? And there's been some up and downs, but
yep.
Especially after the last game, how he's kind of taken this year and grown.
Well, I think it shows how tough this league is, and especially for goalies that haven't experienced it yet or have very little experience. He's played some of the best. The game in Winnipeg was about as good a goalie performance as we've got all year. I really liked his game last game. He was a big reason why we come away with that victory. Some of his puck play I'm not a big fan of. There was a couple plays there you'd like to not have happen again, but I thought he battled, and I thought he made not just the saves he was supposed to, but he made some great saves as well. And those are usually the performances that you end up on the winning side of things. And I think learning how to do that consistently and is one of the hardest things to do. And so I think he's made growth there, and we'll just see where it takes him down the road.
There's been a lot of talk about Sam and his mental game and how strong it is. I mean, is it fair to say Ivan's kind of on the same wavelength?
Well, he had a couple that he probably would like to take back, and so for him to rebound from that and have that kind of performance is great. So, I think it's all part of the development. I think the mental side of the game is extremely important, and obviously for goaltenders, it's maybe even more so. We talk a lot about the physical side. I think the mental side is you can gain advantages there, and you can and make yourself a more valuable player on that side of things as well. And I guess it maybe shows up maybe a little bit more with goaltending.
Do you have a plan to get Kolosov in a game before the end of the season, or any?
Yeah, we plan on playing him. There's lots of different scenarios right now. I'm not sure when that is, but we anticipate him playing game.